CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris is in Washington for us. Steve, good to see you.
Great to see you, Vlad.
So let me get your reaction to President Obama's comments, first and foremost.
Well, he didn't really answer the question, which is what are his thoughts about Trump being the nominee. But I thought it was interesting, the implication that that the media is sort of propped this guy up, and we haven't been doing our jobs in terms of fact checking. I mean, I could have a conversation with him or anybody else all day about all the fact checking and all the scrutiny of all of the candidates that we and other media have been doing. And I think that's sort of a, I don't know, it's sort of a convenient way to get out of answering the question, to say, well, the media needs to do their job. Ultimately, Trump and all of these candidates have been scrutinized, will be scrutinized. It's not something that we're just talking about Donald Trump's tweets all day. It may seem like that to some people, but there's a lot of scrutiny. I mean, there are fact check sites. Our organization looks at the details of all of the candidates and their statements and issues, and so. It just seems a little, I don't know. It seems like an easy way out of not answering the question about what is his feeling of Trump being the nominee, to sort of then turn it back on the media and say, it's your fault, and you guys got to be very careful about propping a guy like this up.
Yeah, he's been very critical. He's been scolding almost of the press in the waning days of his presidency, Steve. And one thing I sort of got the sense of after he sort of scolded the press and the media for not emphasizing the things that you just pointed out. He then seemed to sort of indicate that when it comes to Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, that at least that they see eye to eye on certain things, raising the minimum wage, obviously investing in infrastructure, comprehensive immigration reform. I mean, clearly, again, sort of a dog whistle to people, like, look what's going on over there, and take a look at what's going on in my house.
Yeah, sure. And another point I want to make, by the way, about what the president said is there's a lot of criticism when he was running for president for the first time that we weren't scrutinizing him enough. I mean, you could hear it from the Republicans, right, saying, oh, he's media's in love with Barack Obama, there's no scrutiny of him, and he's just sort of skating by, and he's going to get elected because there's not enough scrutiny. Well, you know what? Like, it seems as if that is a common criticism. Blame the media. It's easy, and you know what? The public doesn't necessarily love the media, and so it's sort of an easy argument for politicians. But at the same time, politicians have to be serious about the issues as well, and play it straight. And on both sides, they're not always doing that as well. So. It's an interesting argument. I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about what he really thinks about Trump, but as he said, this isn't necessarily the time for it either. There's 6 months left in this campaign. There'll be plenty of time for the president to weigh in on Trump. And he also was asked about Bernie Sanders, too. Didn't weigh in on that, said let the process play out. I think that's going to be interesting to watch moving forward, as well as when does he start to take a role in maybe starting to shove Sanders out of the picture. I think when Hillary Clinton clinches the requisite number of delegates she needs to get the nomination, I think you're going to start seeing Democrats, maybe not the president, but big-time Democrats start to whisper about Sanders leaving the race.
Yeah, so Steve, what is your take on how you see the president actually doing that going forward? Will he be used as sort of an attack dog for Hillary Clinton, or will he play more behind the scenes? Or will he go on campaign for her? What are you hearing?
It's interesting, and I think one of the other reasons maybe that he didn't really go after Donald Trump here is there's probably a little, I don't know, they're probably trying to wait to see how this all shakes out. So Trump surprised a lot of people on both sides of the aisle to get to where he's gotten. And so the question is this some sort of movement nationally, or is this just a bunch of disgruntled Republicans who are unhappy with their choices and voted in Donald Trump? If it's a larger movement, then piling on, I think, for Obama runs a huge risk of alienating people that they're going to need to vote for Hillary Clinton if she's the nominee of the Democratic Party. And so I think there's a sense of let's just wait and see how this plays out, and where are our openings to go after Trump. And so to answer your question about what is his role moving forward as an attack dog, that's a very good question. One thing you have to take into consideration is where are his approval ratings at any given point. If his approval ratings are in the tank, you're probably going to see him back off a bit. I mean, remember when George W. Bush in 2008, he basically was invisible during that campaign for John McCain. He wasn't out there doing much on behalf of McCain because the Americans didn't really like him at that point. Right now, the president is hovering around 50% approval. If that stays the same, you'll probably see him out there in defense of Hillary Clinton and probably out there criticizing Trump. But if that starts to go down, I'm not sure you'll see the president out there that much.
So, Steve, for the viewers who might have missed the president's comments live as we played them here on CBSN, I want to play a little bit of the sound of him talking about the state of the Democratic race.
I think Senator Sanders has done an extraordinary job raising a whole range of issues that are important to Democratic voters as well as the American people generally. And I know that at some point there's going to be a conversation between Secretary Clinton and Bernie Sanders about how we move towards the convention. The good news is that despite the fact that during the course of primaries everybody starts getting a little chippy, I've been through this, it's natural, sometimes even more with the staffs and supporters than with the candidates themselves. The good news is that there's a pretty strong consensus within the Democratic Party on the vast majority issues.
Steve, your reaction?
I thought he was on point with that. I mean, he's not going to try to force Sanders out of this yet. This is the same situation that Obama found himself in 2008 when Hillary Clinton was running against him, and it was clear that she wasn't going to have the math to get enough delegates to overtake him for the nomination. And so he let it play out. She finished out the string in terms of the primaries, and then on her own terms turned around and endorsed him. I think that's what the Clinton folks and what Democrats are hoping are going to happen with Sanders. I mean, you see Sanders out there aggressively talking about wanting to have to be relevant moving forward, whether that's through the primaries or at the convention. So why alienate him by trying to force him out now? And that's I think what Obama was doing in that answer.
All right, CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Vlad.